All right, ladies, welcome to our third podcast episode of Spirituality in Dentistry podcast. My name is Shireen Washington. I'm one of the admins of Spirituality in Dentistry, along with Glenda Isavito. But I'd like to welcome my co-host who's here with me today, Lori Bullock, and the amazing Carla Watts. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
Oh,
So we when we started our podcast, which is not this episode, which is not on camera,
mhm,
we got a little flustered because we couldn't get Carla on video. And that's like, right? Like these things happen.
mhm.
And so what I would love for us to do before we get in and jump in is to have a few moments of just taking a few breaths to just kind of ground us and to center us and position us for a beautiful conversation. That is Lori's area of expertise.
Wonderful.
Lori, I'm gonna let you take it from here.
Thank you, Shireen. So, sitting tall in your chair, opening your heart, rolling shoulders back and down, or finding a little twist in your body, maybe reaching out or up for my shoulders today. Out is perfect. Open heart, neutral chin, big breath in. And let it out through your mouth. Release hands, chin tucks in, soften the back of the neck. Roll out shoulders again. Keep breathing. I don't have to remind you because you've been breathing your whole life. But just keep the breath slow and deep and sway in your body. Close your eyes. Feel your spine. Feel your hips and your feet really anchored into whatever you're sitting or standing. If you're driving, open your eyes, please. And as we come back to this moment together, maybe just hands on heart, one over the other, feeling that heartbeat, gratitude for breath, and namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank
Thank you.
you. Yeah. Before we begin, ladies, now that I certainly feel more relaxed, more grounded, I'm going to go ahead and light a candle for us. And lighting a candle symbolizes bringing light, love, compassion, understanding, peace to our conversation today. And then I'd love, this is a very quick prayer. And this is in a book called Centering Prayers by Peter Haas. I'd love to to read this. And I have a spiritual director. I went to see my spiritual director this past week, and she always chooses a prayer randomly from this book before we begin. And it always is on point for like whatever I'm there for to talk to her about. She has no idea what I'm going to talk to her about, but the prayer sometimes it fits in. So this one is called Let the Kingdom of My Heart Open. Beloved wisdom, holy compassion, I wish to feel the touch of your blessing today in the empty places of my being. Where there is lack of wisdom, love, or goodness, bring insight, compassion, and open-heartedness. Let the kingdom of my heart open and expand towards someone new today, releasing that which represses me in self-absorption and freeing me to live in your presence. Amen.
Amen. Beautiful. Thank you.
I will not ugly cry today.
Pretty crying only. I have a Kleenex too,
I,
girl. Like life can be that way. Oh, Shireen's got hers. Everyone wave your Kleenex. Oh.
And this is to me, this is one of the reasons why spirituality and dentistry as a Facebook group was created, was to allow for this.
mhm.
Whether it's ugly crying, beautiful crying, whether it's not saying anything, I just want to step back and I want to take
Yeah.
something from the group. So I'm going to turn it whenever you're ready, Carla.
Uh-huh.
Um, what would you like to share? Just starting out, forget the question. What would you like to share at this moment? Taking your
Mhm. I'm going to share my special surprise, okay, that was called today. I kind of shared it last night a bit on Facebook because I had a very great day of reflection yesterday. Oh, here I go.
You're good. You're good.
Today is my 11th date of my kidney transplant. And I'd like to share my testimony today of how I received that living donation, if that's okay. When people are open to listen, I love to share my story. So if you're ready, I'm going to share.
We're ready. I'm all buckled up over here. Let's do this.
Okay, so in, I want to say the early 2000, I was diagnosed with a condition called polycystic kidney disease. Generally, it is known in families that carry this because it is a genetically inherited condition, short is PKD. In my family, apparently there are genetic traits or markers that are carried, but no one has actually collected them that has the disease. I am the lucky one. And I say lucky because I was the one touched by our maker to have this wonderful story to share. And at that time, when I was diagnosed, it was suggested, but not, of course, mandatory, that I may want to consider the vegetarian lifestyle because meat protein is harder to process through your body, and it would give your body your kidneys possibly a chance to slow the disease down, not having to work so hard processing the meat products. So, okay, that day I became a vegetarian. Fast forward a few years later, you know how you go about every day-to-day activities. And my coworker and I, every 2 weeks, would go to the bank. It was payday. We had not gotten direct deposit yet. And this was, let's see, it was 2010. And we had gone in the bank, same bank, we're creatures of habit, and always had the same teller. And as Shireen knows, I like to chat a lot. And so does my coworker. So we became friendly with the teller over the years, and we were discussing where we were going to go to lunch. And we get bored with the same places. And the teller had suggested, hey, when I cheat on my diet, I go to a restaurant or I go to Five Guys. I don't know if you're familiar with that restaurant. Okay. So I don't have a lot of vegetarian options. Lots of carbs. So, and meat and carbs. So she, you know, I said, oh, we can't go there. And my coworker's like, she's a vegetarian. So the teller said, you're a vegetarian? And of course, I'm like, yes, this is what a chubby vegetarian looks like. And she goes, no, I didn't mean that. She said, were you raised, you know, in that lifestyle? And I said, no. You know, and I kind of said, you know, I have a kidney disease, and this is basically was suggested to me, blah, blah, blah. And pardon me, when I get nervous, you know, the xerostomia pops in. Okay. As our dental
Take your time, Carla. Take your time. This story is worth, really, just share as your own pace allows.
This pace, Shireen. I tend to ramble. I actually try to work to slow things down. So we are standing there, and all of a sudden, the bank manager is doing a task at the front desk, you know, where the tellers sit. And she's normally, you know, has an office in the back. And she said, excuse me, I don't mean to eavesdrop. She said, but do you need a kidney transplant? And I said, well, eventually I will. She said, well, how do you get tested? Is it a blood test? And I said, sorry. I said, yes. I would assume that's the first stage. So she said, okay. She said, here, I'm going to give you my business card. I would like to get tested for you. And I said, oh, ma'am, I said, that's so sweet of you. but I'm not ready. And she said, well, someday you will be, and I'd like to get tested for you. And I'm like, okay, ma'am, I said, that's so sweet, but it's okay. You have to be very healthy. I said, I don't know a lot about the process, but you can't be on medications. It's very hard to find a living donor. They can't have high cholesterol, high blood pressure, a lot of pretty much they don't want to put the donor's life at risk. So the screening process is very, very difficult. She said, I know we're about the same age. I only take a medicine. I have tinnitus. That's the only medicine I take. I work out regularly. And I'm like, okay, this woman is not giving up. So she came around from the desk and she said, look, she said, I'm going to write my cell number on my business card. Please take this with you. Give it to your doctor when you're ready. I'm like, all right, ma'am. You're not leaving without my card, was her last thing to me. So I take the card, throw it in my purse, and I'm like, come on, get out of here. Who does this? So I get in the car and I'm like, who offers to give an organ to someone they don't know? And my coworker's like, well, she's a nice lady, Carla. I do all my banking here. She said, and she said, she always says hello to me. I'm like, I've never seen her. I said, but okay. So I never took care of the card, but I never got rid of it. I changed
it in your purse.
Yeah.
For how many years? I'm dying. Like, how long did that purse have your card?
Yeah, so it got dog-eared, on the corners, and got wrinkled, but it was worn. So I hadn't even told my husband. I mean, it was that bizarre. So I go, a year later, it was time for my nephrology appointment, and my local physician had said, it's time. You're getting close to needing your transplant. I need you to get on a list. So I called Johns Hopkins and the transplant center. And of course, they had to verify it with my insurance before they would even make an appointment that they would cover a transplant. But that's another story.
There's a process, of course. And you still had this woman's card. Can I interrupt you just to say, I love that she was that persistent. I'm kind of thinking the end of this story is going to be something like she had a loved one pass from the kidney something or other. And so she had a heart for, yeah, am I right?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, I'll be patient.
I love how you're tracking. It's even better. So she, I didn't even consider it. I really didn't. It just floated around in my wallet or my purse. So I finally get down after, a month. I get my appointment, and the surgeon basically told me that, of course, my husband wouldn't be a candidate. I would never do my children. I know some people do, and that's their choice. But basically said fresh is best. I'm an O positive, and I can give to anybody. I can only receive O positive. So I don't think specific that would move me up on the list for a cadaver kidney. And he basically told me, he was real. He said, you probably will die on dialysis. Ooh. He said, your best bet is to go out and find a living donor. He was very persistent. Wow. Not what I would hear, but it was reality for an O positive person. That's reality. Now, is several options from that. I don't want to get into that whole transplant process, but it is something, if you want to learn more, that there are different grades of donor kidneys from cadavers, different risk factors. If somebody did have hepatitis, if somebody was, didn't know if it was HIV positive, there are different grades, and you can choose if you want a prime transplant.
So it's nice, like anyone who's listening to this could reach out to you if they're in a similar boat or have a loved one. Maybe we can, for time wise, just like get to your testimony of what happened. Miracle.
So kind of make my story a little shorter. we move to, you know, find a living donor, fresh is best. So, um, it left a lot of people out that were willing to donate. And I don't feel I am special. Who am I? I explored options. I've seen people put vinyl stickers on their car. My father needs a kidney transplant, looking for a donor. You know, I didn't feel comfortable doing that. I just don't feel special. That who would do this for me? Uh, so I had resolved to the fact that this was my cross to bear, and I was going to live. I've seen people go through dialysis again, personal choice for myself. I was just going to live my life until, you know, it was my time.
Yeah.
And I went to the work and told my coworker, and she said, Carla, what about the lady at the bank? And I said, you know,
she remembered and you didn't. You're like, oh yeah, the card in my purse.
I can't.
I love it.
She said, Carla, she still asked me. I said, she probably forgot about me. I spent over a year. And she said, every time I go to the bank for something, she'll say, how's your friend? Does she still have my card?
Wow.
So I can't ask somebody for a body part, right? So I prayed for weeks.
Oh.
How do I ask someone for an organ? How do I become humble to ask somebody for an organ?
That's really it. Yeah.
And I woke up and it was like plastered on my forehead. You don't have to ask. She offered.
Yeah.
So I tucked my tail between my legs and I tromp up to the bank. I go into the bank and she met us in the foyer on our lunch break. And she said, I knew you'd be coming. I said, you know, look, here's where I am. Here's an application. At any time, if you don't feel this is right, and boom, she was on it. And I will tell you, 6 months later, we were laying on the table and I was having her kidney.
Wow.
She was my match, a non-family match. 3 out of 6, I believe it's called HLA match, is considered a perfect donor, non-family, and she was a 4 out of 6. So yeah.
Yay. She was so in tune with God. Like she knew you were coming. Shireen, I think you have something too.
Well, you know, I'm listening to your story, and oftentimes it's a lot of people, we are givers ourselves. We will give, and we will do, and we will, but it's hard for us to ask for help.
Yes.
If there was a takeaway that you could give to, because this podcast will be shown via social media channels. We're going to post it in the Spirituality and Dentistry Facebook group. If there was one takeaway that you could give to someone who's watching and or listening to this about our ability to give ourselves grace, what would that be, Carla?
That, and it just keeps resonating with me. And I know he didn't come up with this saying, but this saying was given to me by Elijah Desmond. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. With so many things in life, I was uncomfortable making myself, opening my heart to receiving and gift. I mean, ultimately, this is the most amazing gift of life that anybody can give you. And for my donor, she's a Christian and she lives this lifestyle, but I still to this day don't feel worthy of this gift. And I, other than sharing my story and helping others, is my mission in life. And this still, you know, and I share that to other people. You have to be open to receive as well as give. And my ultimate takeaway from this is open your ears to hear from God. And I realize there are people that have other religions and their God may be different. But I know, you know, wholeheartedly where I am. But, you know, believe wholeheartedly in your spirituality and know that there's work out there. It may not be what you want, but there's a plan for you. And kind of put a little icing to the top of my story. When I went to the bank to visit a month later, I said, I have got to tell you that you scared me that day. And she says, what do you mean? I wanted to help you. And I said, who goes around offering body parts? And look, she said, I am a Christian. And she said, but I have to admit something to you. I don't go around offering body parts. She said, I wasn't paying attention to what you all were talking about. I was sitting there, and all of a sudden, I felt a heat coming in the top of my head. My mouth opened, my words poured out, and my ears heard what I was saying. And she said, I didn't stop myself, and I heard, you heard, and I heard my words at the same time. So she said, this was pure divine intervention.
Yes, God spoke through her, used her to get to you.
She had her ears open. And that's my message. You know, we have to listen and trust the message that comes through. So this is my testament. And this is why today, of all days, that you reached out to me. And I truly think there was something stopping us from connecting in the beginning. I use Zoom all the time. I use Zoom with my NHH, National Healthcare Hygienists Organization, with meetings consistently. And yeah.
Well, Carla, as you were struggling with you were resetting your computer and coming back as we planned, we did say a prayer for you. Like, I know God wanted that message to come through, and you have delivered it beautifully, and He does. He loves it when we listen. He loves it when we are willing to act on what we hear, and it blesses others, especially when others are willing to receive. So it takes all those steps in order for His miracles to happen. And thank you for sharing. That was so cool.
There. Yes, it's, again, I am just so blessed, and that was my message that I kind of creeped in yesterday. I couldn't wait to share my story.
You did a little trailer yesterday for today's full story.
It was, you know, every day I'm thankful, and I kind of tease my donor. You know, she didn't want a friend. She didn't want anything. You know, do we go out regularly? No. You know, she lives in my same town. It's just truly something that she said, you have no idea what it gives, what I have gotten out of giving someone a gift they can never repay me for.
Yeah, that's God's word.
Love, because it's because God is love, and being more Christ-like.
Yes,
that's what He wants from us.
Yeah,
and that woman demonstrated that 100%.
Yes, she did. She had to go through so much testing. She had to go through, in 6 months, MRIs, colonoscopies. She went through all kind of testing to make sure she was healthy and her life would not be affected. You know, other normal surgery risks. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just keep getting chills and thoughts as you're talking. And so I want to share one last thing before we wrap up. I think what I hear and what resonates so much with me is that when God asks us to do something, this is so personal to me. I just sent off my youngest son for a 2-year church service mission. Not easy, not fun, just missing him. I'm sad. And I know we're doing it for God. And he's missing home, and he's like, it's a huge thing. And so the word sacrifice has been on my heart. Yeah. And when God asks us to sacrifice something that feels so big, so hard, and so impossible, like, wait a second, what? You want me to what? Go through testing for 6 months for this woman I don't know, go through 2 years of not hugging my boy for him to share your message. When we sacrifice so deep and have to dig so deep, guess who we rely on to get through it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And how does that help us and help him? Like, it builds the kingdom, because all of a sudden I'm closer to God. My son's closer to God. Your bank friend is closer to God. You're closer to God. Everyone who hears this is going to feel like, whoa, ho. Like, it's amazing. Thank you so, so much.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when I tell my story, it doesn't even seem. I'm like, wait, this was me. This
Yeah.
was,
Right.
and again, I just, yeah, it still feels hard to accept it. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
God
yes, it,
allows us to go
urges
through these
everybody.
adversities and these trials, sicknesses. I'm want to start stepping out and talking more about being a Lyme disease survivor because he
Yeah,
uses us. And it's
yes,
it's what someone shared with me on LinkedIn. Some of it, you could look at it as a spiritual disease because
mhm,
there's a purpose behind it. He's
yes, yeah,
just waiting for us to step out and to be able to share it as you've beautifully been able to do today
yeah,
for the kingdom and to
yes,
impact someone's life. So
Yeah.
thank you, Miss Carla, for doing that today. It always makes me laugh when we have our agenda about how we want this podcast to go. And God intervenes and is like, yeah, your agenda means absolutely nothing because I'm the agenda and my messaging is the agenda, and I'm going to pour it through whoever is being interviewed on this podcast. And that's what you did today.
Yeah.
yes. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
ladies. Thank you for
Thank
sharing.
you.
Um, I appreciate both of you. I want you all to have a beautiful, blessed day and
Thank
continue
you.
to share your light for the kingdom and to bless others just as you have done today.
Thank
Thank
you. Thank you
you.
so much. Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.